tell you, this music these days is, you know, I don't know what this shit is they're playing on the radio anymore. But I'm T-Street Controversy. This is T-Street Controversy Live. Liam Smith is 23-0-1 with 13 KOs. Now, just so happens, a lot of those KOs have come recently. You know, as far as in his last several fights. So people are saying, well, he's not really a knockout artist, or he's not a guy that's going to go out there and be knocking people out. Well, you know, those 13 KOs may be a little bit deceiving. The biggest question I have is, can his chin hold up? But we're not here to talk about that. We're going to wait to the fight week predictions, which is going to be the video I'm going to do tomorrow. We're going to talk about the politics of this fight. I am T-Street Controversy. This is T-Street Controversy Live. I do not like the new HBO 24/7 format. Now, what they do is, when it comes to like major fights, for example, Canelo versus Khan, they had 2 full-fledged episodes of HBO 24/7. But for Canelo versus Smith, they had this 15-minute segment, which is HBO 24/7, but they call it Road to Canelo versus Smith. So basically, it's the same HBO 24/7 format, just, you know, just 15 minutes. You know, and I can understand that, you know, that this fight is a tough sell. It's $64.99 on pay-per-view. Of course, I gotta buy it. That's in HD, so I guess it's like $54.99 in standard definition. And the card, in my opinion, is not as good as it was shaping out to be at the very beginning. It was supposed to be Canelo versus Smith, Luis Ortiz versus I forgot who. Luis Ortiz versus Alexander Ustinov, and Billy Joe Saunders versus a Curtis Stevens, a Gabriel Rosado, or I forgot the other name that they were thinking about. So now you just have, you know, the two main fights is Canelo versus Smith, and then you have Willie Monroe Jr. versus Gabriel Rosado. That's a good fight, but still for a co-feature, it's like, okay, you know, that's a good fight. That's a fight that can headline a HBO card, even though I don't think HBO will pick up a fight like that these days. You know, but that's a good fight. Look at it like this. Canelo has vacated his WBC 160-pound title. And the Mexicans' feathers are in an uproar. You know, he's ruffled some feathers down there in Mexico because Mexican warriors don't drop their belts. For example, after he defeated Amir Khan, you know, he gave a little speech about how Mexicans, they don't fuck around. He said, we don't fuck around. So I guess that means that if somebody asks you for something that you owe to them, you give it to them. You know, so basically, Golovkin wanted his belt and said, give me my belt. And Canelo took it off and said, we don't fuck around. This your belt. Take your belt. It's yours. We don't fuck around with that shit. You know, so maybe, you know, that's what he meant. But still, you know, he shouldn't have fought for the title. You know, I understand they wanted to make it seem like, you know, okay, well, not make it seem, but to get him a title in another weight division, and then the Miguel Cotto fight was a big fight, and just so happened, before he vacated, you know, when the fight became official, you know, Miguel Cotto was that WBC champion. But then, you know, when it's time to fight Golovkin, you know, what do they say? Oh, you know, we just want Oscar De La Hoya. We just want to have this fight simmer. I've lost some respect for Oscar De La Hoya. And he is my favorite fighter of all time. You know, like pre-drag Oscar De La Hoya. You know, pre whatever that shit he was going through. You know? So when he came out of rehab, what was this? Was that around Mayweather versus McDonald 1? Was it this? No, Lara versus Canelo versus Lara. You know, he was talking about how he wants the best to fight the best, and the unified boxing, there can't be no, you know, ducking and all kind of shit like that. And now he's been pulling this shit with Golovkin. Remember, supposedly they had a verbal agreement. You know, the fight this September, or this May, I forgot what it was. I think it was this September. You know, that didn't happen. You know, and now they're saying it's going to happen in September 2017. So I'm thinking he's going to drop his belt, you know, drop back down because he couldn't stay at 160. If he's saying, I'm going to drop my title, I'm not really a 160-pounder, you know, he had to go back down from Canelo weight to 154, because if he would have stayed there, then what was he going to do? Fight for another title? Golovkin has all those. So what was he going to do at 160? And I noticed over his last 3 or 4 fights, I believe it's 3, his 30-day weight has been dropping. So the point I'm trying to make is he's been getting lighter, you know, over his last few fights. He's been getting lighter. And this was the lightest 30, you know, day weigh-in that he's been for this Amir Khan fight. So basically, just like Miguel Cotto, when Miguel Cotto for the 160-pound title weighed in at under 154 pounds, to say, hey, listen, I'm not really a middleweight. Golovkin got these motherfuckers staying in shape. Golovkin got these motherfuckers staying in shape. You know, especially those 154 pounders, they gotta make that weight, or they gotta move up to fight Golovkin if they want to get a belt. You know, and that's a fact. You know, but I didn't like how Oscar came out, you know, out of rehab and was talking all this unifying boxing, and I'm like, yes, yeah, you know, team Golden Boy, say boxing. Then they pulling this shit. Now I do believe Golovkin versus Canelo is going to happen. I think after September next year, you know, for them to say that, you know, they wanted to build up like Mayweather Pacquiao, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And also, Golovkin would give, you know, Canelo some major problems. So imagine if they would have made that fight and Canelo loses, his stock drops. So they want to make him as much money as possible, build his name up as much as they possibly can before they go put him in there in a mega fight like that in which he could lose. Remember, he had this lawsuit where he lost basically his whole purse for the Amir Khan fight. So basically, he, you know, if you really want to think about it, he fought Amir Khan for free. If you really want to think about it, you know. So Liam Smith on the other end, I'm supposed to be talking about HBO 24/7, right? Put it this way, you know what they did. You know, you got to see Canelo in his camp. For example, this is not his first HBO 24/7. So normally, if it's somebody's first HBO 24/7 or first All Access, they start going into the fighters' backgrounds, their families. You see them cooking food for the kids and shit. You know, this one, you know, it started with Canelo's, you know, like training kid. We know what he's doing. He's working on power. He's working on being more and more healthier. You know, we already know that shit. Now, with Liam Smith, you know, for American fans, it was a good way to get introduced to him and his family. For example, you don't know, you got Steven Smith, you got Paul Smith, you got Caleb Smith, and then, of course, you got Liam Smith. Liam Smith, 154-pound champion. Caleb Smith, number one contender, WBC, 168. Paul Smith has fought pretty much all the biggest names between 160 and 168 in Britain, and also had a very, very, very tough loss to Arthur Abraham, where I feel he should have won and been world champion. Remember, he fought James Gale, you know, George Groves, and most recently, you know, Andre Ward, you know, when he was fat, you know. So, the Smith family is a family of boxers, and Liam Smith, see, like each of the boxers, you know, have their own, you know, style. And Liam Smith is more of the pressure fighter, power puncher. You know, so the biggest question is going into this fight is his chin going to hold up? I think he can hang with Canelo. You know, maybe Canelo outboxes him, but I think as far as power is concerned, he can hang with Canelo. After all, if you really look at it, Liam Smith is going to be the biggest person in the ring that Canelo has fought since Alfredo Angulo, or maybe James Kirkland. You can say James Kirkland, you know. But James Kirkland was a stiff, non-and wolf, you know. I don't know what that was in there, you know. So when you look at the fact that he fought Amir Khan, a smaller fighter, he fought Miguel Cotto, a smaller fighter than him, you know. And then if you backtrack before James Kirkland, you know, you have to look at you know, Aries Lengy-Lar. So it's on very rare occasions where you get a fighter that could be the same size or potentially bigger than Canelo. But then again, you know, Canelo, I don't know how he do it. You know, he'll weigh in at Canelo weight, you know, just under Canelo weight, and he'll come in the ring at like 170 plus, like 175 plus, you know? That shit's crazy. And he don't step on no unofficial scales because, see, in this day and age, in this social media age, you know, certain fighters won't step on that scale because you'll get slaughtered. They'll say, oh, well, he rehydrating on his weight. He should be fighting in such and such and such and such. He should be fighting in this division. You know, and Canelo and his team is trying to stick to the story of he's not a middleweight. Yet that motherfucker's a middleweight. He's a middleweight. Come on, man. Come on, man. Come on, man. Come on, man. Come on. Come on. Come on. But this Saturday, I'm buying a pay-per-view. I hope it's going to be a good fight. I believe that Liam Smith should be inspired and should have some extra inspiration after what he's seen Kell Brook do. You know, if Kell Brook would have held up, you know, we don't know what he would have done. But the point is, Golovkin got the stoppage. You know, so I want to see Canelo versus Golovkin, but we don't know what's going to happen. You know, and also Golden Boy is talking about they don't want it to be like any pay-per-view, but they trying to do the Mayweather Pacquiao. They're trying to tell Golovkin, no, you take this flat amount of money and you don't get no pay-per-view buys and nothing. Ooh, you know, what the fuck, Oscar? What the fuck? Fuck. I know financially Canelo is A side, but yo, Golovkin is not too far behind as far as his marketability, you know, and also he's got 3 motherfucking belts. I don't care who you are. I don't think you should be A side. I don't think that it should be Canelo versus Golovkin when Golovkin has 3 belts. I feel it should be Canelo. I feel it should be Golovkin versus Canelo. I don't care how much money you bring to the table. You know, you don't got 3 belts. You don't got 3 belts. Now, the plan is, if everything goes to plan, it's supposed to be Golovkin versus Jacobs. Then if Golovkin beats Jacobs, if he beats Jacobs, he goes on in May or April to fight Billy Joe Saunders. If he beats Billy Joe Saunders, either him or Billy Joe Saunders is going to be the WBC, the WBA, the IBF, and the WBO champion in a big, humongous global fight. Then after that, Canelo can't say that he's not marketable enough. We saw what he did over in the UK. Come on, man. Come on. Then, if the stars align, September 2017, we have Canelo make his debut. You know, maybe a second fight. You know, I feel he's going to vacate that WBO title if he beats Liam Smith. I feel he's going to vacate it. You know, and then move to 160 and fight somebody in May at 160. You know, maybe a David Lemieux. You know, and then fight Billy Joe Saunders, and then fight the winner of Billy Joe Saunders in Golovkin. You know, in September, and then he'll be able to fight for all the belts. So, you know, that's the way I look at it. But go check out that HBO 24/7. I'm sure it's probably on YouTube by now. You know, it didn't really offer anything. And I'm not expecting for Liam Smith to be all controversial. I'm not expecting for, you know, Canelo to be all controversial. But damn, you know, HBO 24/7, they should have show some training montages, you know, or something. That shit was, you know, of course, the production is top notch. But it's like, yo, y'all could have found ways to make that. You know, I'd be wondering who'd be working on this stuff. Like, there'll be people who watch boxing that be working on this stuff. You know, I could put better shit on my Instagram. No disrespect. But anyway, I'm T Street Controversy. This is T Street Controversy Live. I cover every single major fight live. The links to my social media are all down below in the description box. I will be uploading highlights to my Instagram, brief highlights, just to give you, you know, a glimpse of what's going on in the fight. And it's hard for me to tell people to buy this fight. It's hard for me to tell people to buy this fight. But at the same time, for Liam Smith to make the money he wants to make, and he should make being a champion, and Canelo making the money he has to make, HBO wasn't going to pay for that. You know, it wasn't going to pay for it. So the fans got to pay for it. And, you know, it's time for Canelo to stay on pay-per-view. Please subscribe.